The last year that we gave, I said I would write something, but try and make something, which I did. Yankee also wrote something, whatever. And in many ways, it's the heart of all the Maariv of the Tafshim Memhei we've been learning for many weeks, but it's a standalone as well. So basically what you're looking at here is, we say in Maariv, that quote appears bottom center, and again on the left. So there's the classic touch of that before this Maimon, before Memhei. It's a chiddush of the Maimon of Tafshin of the Yisrael Memhei, which is a hemshech to Basi Legani. So what's the regular touch? Before we do that, let's look at the right-hand column. Now it's to be noted that after the second arrow, where you see Oirin Safa Bligul, that is where the narrative of creation begins classically by the Eitz Chaim quoted extensively in Chassidus. That's how it begins. In the beginning, the Oirin Safa Bligul fills all of existence. Then, I'm sorry, no, it doesn't begin there. It begins 1, 2, 3, 4, after the fourth arrow. After the fourth arrow. So let's begin there, because that's how classically the whole point of the Maimon Basileganim Bemhei and Chavei was to introduce and reveal these tzimtzumim that are spoken about rarely in Kabbalah and Chassidus, and that's the whole foundation of the series of Maimon. So the Eitz Chaim begins again 1, 2, 3, 4. You have the sheet after the fourth arrow. That's what the narrative. In the beginning, the narrative of creation. The infinite light filled all of existence, forming the Igel HaGadol, the great circle in the end, after the Tzimtzum. The Tzimtzum Arishan then creates a vacuum, and there's a great circle of light, the transcendent circle of light that surrounds now this vacuum, where next arrow, Hamshachas Eirakav, God projects this thin beam, as it were, of godliness, and that's the whole Seder Shtalshalos. So it's 1, 2, 3 steps. Starting point is Oirin Safa Bligul, Tzimtzum Arishan, Kav. Clear, classic. So that's the meaning, the classic meaning of which we say in Maariv every night. Look at the middle column, bottom. We say, Goylel Oir Mipnei Choshech. He rolls away the light, literally in the face of the darkness. Well, that's exactly what it said. The Oir is the Oirin Safa Bligul. It's rolled away, as it were, Mipnei Choshech, because of on the face of Choshech, that's the Tzimtzum Arishan. Clear? Then the tefillah continues. Goylel, doesn't say the word Goylel again, but that's implicit. Choshech Mipnei. Then the Choshech is removed, or rolled away, and now an Oir projects. Well, that's the Hamshacha of the Oir HaKav, which is the finite projected emanation of godliness, the Olamus, and the physical universe at the bottom of the ladder. So that is that Oir. So that's the meaning of Goylel Mipnei Choshech and Choshech Mipnei Oir. Clear? That's Bechalal in Chassidus. And before we get to what Vayishma Yisrael Tavshim Memhei, which is the Hemshech Basi Legani, let's go to the top of the right-hand column. And here the Maimon introduces, and we explain this without repeating the long explanations, just a general understanding. I'll say again, the Maimon introduces, in the words of the Maimon itself, rare tzimtzumim not spoken about b'chalal chassidus. Now, these tzimtzumim, which form the whole bulk of both Chafei and Memhei, created a huge stir amongst the Mashpiyim. Questions were written in the Aras HaTmimim, and the Rebbe responded, and I think in one with Levi, there were 2 classic sichres The Rebbe responded to the shaylas that people asked on the Maimon. Subsequently to these sikhs, the ones in Tavshim Mem Hey, 2 years later, Tavshim Mem Zayin, a Maimon was published, Yaakov Pekudei, Parshas HaChodesh. And Rabbi Yoel, we thank him greatly, he summarized these two sikhs, these two answers, which clarified further and answered the questions that the Chassidim, the Melech Tzvibel, the great Mashpiyim had. And he wrote it as a ha'ara, and we learned the ha'ara, and the Rebbe edited the ha'ara, and we pointed out some subtle changes that Rebbe made in Rabbi Yoel's original ha'ara. He summarized the ha'ara. It's ha'ara 29 of the Maimon of Yaakov Pekudei, which we learned in the text. And I think he did it with Levi too, again. We simply refer to it. Okay, so this is like a very historic, Tavshim Mem Hey Basir Legani is a historic Maimon that spawned a whole discussion, and the Rebbe's response twice in two successive Farbrengens, when eventually becoming a Mugedike, incredible ha'ara, which we had learned. This is kind of a summary of it, well, at least a reference to it. So we start at the top of the page of the column, Atzmusa Yisborech, God's essence. And then a pasuk from Tehillim, Yoshes Choshech Sisra, which means he places his secrecy in darkness, which means his essence is beyond revelation. That's what that means. And we understand what that means because revelation, however you're going to understand it, implies what? It's almost a mantra here. It implies otherness. And starting with Atzmos, there's not even the possibility of otherness. And therefore, his secret, his essence is Choshech. Choshech relative to revelation. There is no revelation. It cannot be revelation unless he so chooses in his godly, impossible way. Now comes the big chiddush. We're not going to repeat the whole arichas because we get many shiurim on this, but just to give the geography of it. Incredibly, in these rare places in Kabbalah and Chassidus, and we explain why they're rare places and not spoken about usually. The narrative begins 4 steps later, right? The last 3 items on the column. That's where the narrative begins classically. But no. There are tzimtzumim. The first expression of Atzmos is in fact not gilui but tzimtzum. Now the Rebbe explains that tzimtzum here means God literally contracting himself within himself. And in brackets, the word meruba, these tzimtzumim are square. Unlike the eagle of God, the great circle that Eitz Chaim speaks about, that the tzimtzum arishan affected. We'll address that briefly again in a moment, but just leave that hanging. In brackets below that, Ilo v'olo boyis barach. He said powerful words don't appear anywhere else in Chassidus that cause and effect, not as opposed to what? Tell me. Cause and effect as opposed to? Hisavus, creation yesh ma'ayin, which is not expressive of all of the cause. Yesh ma'ayin. No, this is not yesh ma'ayin. This is not creating something other. This is iluv all of God himself in a chain reaction is compressing himself. This is extraordinary words because the tzimtzum was never understood as applying to atzmos, and it's only in the it's not even literal. We've spoken about this. There are 4 shittas in tzimtzum. 4 shittas. Because there are 2 variables that apply to 2 things. Is it in the atzmos or is it in oil? That's 2 variables. Is it kipshuta or not kipshuta? Another 2 variables. So there's 4 shittas. Now, the Rebbe shitta is that the tzimtzum is not kipshuta and not in atzmos. And here it's kind of saying it is. I'm not going to go into whole. But this is the big bombshell. Kevayochel. In brackets, it's really in a kind of oil, not in brackets. Below the ilav olu, I identify here 3 levels as a result of the tzimtzum within himself. It's not chas v'sholom that God is mistamtzim. Chas v'shalom. But it's very essential levels, higher than classic revelation. One of these levels, Yecheles, Mo'er, and Oir HaKol B'Mo'er. These are just words, but the words themselves, they're meaningful. Yecheles, potential for any expression, revelation, non-revelation. Then another tzimtzum moyer, to be a luminary, still no revelation. Oir HaKol, the light that's bound up in the luminary, still no revelation. But these are steps. These are tzimtzumim. Clear? And then as a result of that, and why they swear, just to tell you, because around tzimtzum implies infinite. The whole point of this is all gvul. The summary of this is, friends, that Eibishter's decision, his first expression should be not bli gvul, but gvul. Let me explain why. Because since that kavan is dir betachtoinim, my tachtim, your tachtim, therefore his first expression is, I'm going to be in tachtim. I'm in gvul. I'm in gvul because I'm in your gvul. And that's the whole nisava that starts this whole process, which we spoke about at length, right? It's all in the shiur. Then there emerges the first gilui. Now we're talking classic revelation. But this is not what Eitz Chaim is speaking. He's speaking way steps later. Then there's another tzimtzum. And then we get to where Eitz Chaim starts. And the Ein Sof, which is Mamala, Mokim Acholol, kind of a relative bligvul that fills all of existence. We're already employing words like existence, Mamala, Makol Mokim, Amitzias. That's all as a result of these many tzimtzumim before. But that's where Chassidus starts the whole story, classically. That's the Igul HaGadol. It's a Mauritian in the Kav. Clear? Now this is called an Igul because the whole point of this tzimtzum is to create a relative infinite, transcending all worlds equally. We explained what Igul means. A circle means, first there's a beginning or end of the circle. That's not the essence of it. Circle means the center point in the circle is equidistant from every point on the circle. The center point is the Kav. So all the levels of the Kav, from the high Ak all the way down to Malchus and Malchus Dasiya, is all equidistant from the Igul HaGadol. That's classic Seviv Kol Almin. But the previous tzimtzumim, incredibly, they're called square, to imply that it's gvul. Because when you make a square or a rectangle, any point you put in it is closer to some edge there and further from another, implying gvul. And that's the whole chiddush of the Maimon, is that the Eibishter's first expression is not bli gvul, but gvul. The bli gvul comes later in two stages. Absolute bli gvul and relative bli gvul, which the tzimtzum then plays upon, creating the Igul HaGadol. And why? The Bible didn't spell it out, but it seems, the truth is, in the Hemshech, in Yisrael, and the other ones, it's clear. Why did the Eibishter choose him? It's all equal. Gvul and bli gvul is all equal. Why did he choose that his first expression within self should be tzimtzum, ilu v'olol, meruba, square tzimtzumim, all of this terminology, is because the kavana nisave is a dir b'tachtonim. And who's that tachton? It's you and me. So his first expression is in gvul, because that's what we struggle with. We struggle with the gvul of Elam Hazeh, with the Yitzhahar and Shabbat Misa, to make this world the dir leis barach. Therefore, that's his primary, essential, deepest expression. And why is this spoken about classically in Chassidus? Because God, okay, I'm not going to repeat the whole explanation. But we're the lucky beneficiaries of the final message. The end of Golus, it's all to tell us that God Kavayachol is affected, is invested in our group. And that's a secret that can only come out at the end of Golus. In stages, as we pointed out. Okay, now to the right, to the left-hand column, it's slightly different play on words. It doesn't, not exactly the same meaning, because the middle girl in the Choshech is very simple. The Oira Ein Sof, which is a Mal Makam Chol, is removed, replaced by Choshech Tzimtzum. The Tzimtzum is then pierced, Choshech Me'er with the Kav. That's right, that's clear. It's a little bit It's a little bit different. Let's look at it. The new Taich, Tovshin Mem Hey, Pashas Yisrael. You can see the lines attached. Goylel, he reveals here. Megala, it's slightly different. Oyer, the light from the Choshech. The starting point is the Choshech. Look where the word Choshech is higher than the Oyer. It takes you to the Tzimtzumim, the in Atzmos Kavayochel, Ilva Olo, Boyis Baruch, giving rise to Yechelis, Moir, Erakolo. That's the Choshech. And the Oyer itself emerges from there. Here the Choshech is high, as opposed to the first types. Clear? And the Choshech Mipnei Oyer, the Choshech now, so the Oyer emerges, the Oyer itself obliquely emerges from the first expression of Atzmos, which is, you can see the Tzimtzumim, and then the Choshech playing now on this Oyer itself obliquely. Another Tzimtzum produces another Oyer from this Choshech, and that's classic infinite. That's the Oyer Ein Sof, which is now beginning the narrative picked up by the Eitz Chaim, which is Mamala Mokem Metzias, which comes as a result of a Tzimtzum, and then this Oyer Ein Sof is the classic Tzimtzum edition. Did you follow it, guys? It's mapped out. If you just trace the red lines, you'll see. Yeah, but you see the languages in the classic, it's Oyer, then Choshech, Choshech, here Choshech is line. Starting point is Choshech, Oyer comes from Choshech, and then it goes Choshech. So it's a little bit. And again, this is rare and not spoken about. Now, if we'll look at Yankees, you sent it again. You wrote it up a little bit there. Let's have a look at it. You understand it then we're getting it. So the left-hand column for this Maariv, he rolls away the light to make room for the darkness, and the darkness make room for the light. Classic explanation. Hashem rolls away the Oyer, which is lift that Tzimtzum, that's creating the Choshech, the Tzimtzum edition. And then Hashem rolls away that Tzimtzum, that Choshech, by projecting the Oyer HaKav, a beam of godliness, that's the classic explanation. Yeah? Deeper explanation, which is Yisrei Tov Shemem, hey? Hashem rolls out the first Oyer HaBligvul, which is not even the Oyer HaBligvul that Eitz Chaim speaks of. Absolute Bligvul. Where does that come from? The Tzimtzum, the Choshech. The essential darkness of Atzmos. Yoshes Choshech Sisrei, whose first and deepest expression is the Tzimtzum within himself, giving rise to Yechelis, Moir, Erakolo, which are all darkest higher than Gilui, but they're still Tzimtzumim. Then Hashem rolls out the Oyer from the Choshech, another Tzimtzum. What's required now? We need another Tzimtzum to go from this absolute pure Ein Sof to the relative Oyer Ein Sof, which is directly precedes the Tzimtzum edition, where the Eitz Chaim picks up the narrative from the relative Oyer Ein Sof and the Tzimtzum edition, and then Ishtarshalos. Clear? So looking at the two things, you'll have to spend time on this yourself. Just look at it. If it's, make sure it's clear. If not, then please be in touch with me. Ask. Now, I'm going to start the next Maimon. I don't know if I told you the story. It's a beautiful story worth repeating. And that is that there was never, I don't think in the history of Lubavitch, a koch in the Rebbe's Maimorim like there was in the Basi Lagani of Chafei and Bemei. I told you I'm on a WhatsApp chat of 1,000 plus Chavre and Bashpi Jacobson and Asher YY and Asher Farkash and others. 24/7 has been a koch of weeks in this Maimon. Read by a lot of people. I'm getting private texts from guys that I don't know, that's just and look, amazing. Certainly wasn't such a koch when the Rebbe said the Maimon. So Yitzchak Wolf posted the following story. Yitzchak Wolf from Chicago. I never heard the story. It's a beautiful story. He says, one year, Shabbos Tshuva in the Lubavitch. So the Rebbe Shabbos, that Seder was, he would say a Maimon Friday night. And the next morning, the Mashpim would go inside into the Rebbe's room and say the Maimer, Shilin and the great Mashpim, I think maybe some of the Alter Bachrim, and the Rebbe Rashab would listen and correct and add explanation, etc. This particular occasion was a very reich Maimer, and the Rebbe Rashab gave a lot of beautiful explanations in Shabbos morning over and above what he said Friday night by the Maimer. Chassidim came out so exalted that they went to Rikud. Shabbos Shuvah in the mornings before davening. So there's some elder Chassidim watching this Shabbos Shuvah going to Rikud. Not appropriate. So with them was the famous legendary Chassid of Moishe Dubin. You all know about him. Moishe Dubin was a member in the Latvian parliament and was one of the greatest Chassidim of the previous generation. A tremendous role to play in the whole story of Yibis Tammuz. A big Baal Mesiras Nefesh. Great Chassid. Tremendous Baal Chesed. So Moishe Dubin happened to be in Lubavitch then. And he sees the reaction of the Alter Chassidim. So he said, it's Shabbos Shuvah. Rosh Tevis, Shin Tov. Shin Tov also makes Simchas Torah. Sometimes by the Rebbe, it could be even Shabbos Shuvah, Simchas Torah. And he schlepped them into the Rikud. They danced along with. So Yitzchak Wolf was saying, Chavre, he posted this to everybody was, Kedai was al again Rikud, that the great, surely the great Nachas the Rebbe has of this tremendous koch, weeks and weeks, that so many thousands, Bachrim, Mashpiyim, etc., have in the Maimorim of Bosi Begani, Tavshim Memhei, Tavshim Memhei.